What's up, everybody? Matt here for 5 Star Pod Splash. What a crazy last 4 days it was for the world of wrestling. I'm going to dive right into it pretty quickly. I don't have any notes for SmackDown. I actually attended SmackDown in person with my buddy and future co-host Chris. It was nice because we got to go visit my personal best friend who now lives in the city of Ottawa. Platinum Orson. He's actually an up-and-coming live streamer for gaming. He's building a pretty big empire for himself pretty quickly. So you can always check him out. He's at twitch.tv / Platinum Ort. That's ORT. You can find him on twitter.com / Platinum Ort ORT. You can also find him on YouTube under Platinum Orson. Big shout out to him. It was great seeing him. Not that I haven't seen him in a long time, but it's always nice to see, your close buddy, somebody you've been friends with for your entire life. It was a really, really great night of wrestling. I won't go right into SmackDown. We'll cover Raw first because obviously Raw happened first. I have notes on Raw. I don't have any notes on SmackDown, so I'm gonna wing that one. I remember most of the show. We actually got to see a taping of NXT, which will air next Wednesday. It was good. I won't talk about it because it'll spoil a lot of things for a lot of people who watch NXT every week. So we'll kind of skip that. I won't discuss too much about what happened on main event because that was right after SmackDown went off the air. Again, some people like to see that. They don't want it ruined for them, so I won't talk about that, but we'll go right into Raw. Goldberg kicked off the show with a fantastic promo. I loved it. He really had me going. At one point, he basically was, what it seemed like was giving his retirement speech. And he said, I was backstage and, Stephanie was talking to me and, all good things have to come to an end at some point. And then she said to me, Bill, I knew you said you had one badass spear left in you, and you were right. And you had one badass jackhammer left in you, and you were right. And you had one badass ass kicking left in you, and you were right. But do you? And before he said anything, he said, then a funny thing happened. Then she asked me if I have one more title run in me. And you kind of had a mixed reaction from the crowd because I know there's a lot of people who don't like seeing old stars come back and get put over before other young talent. But honestly, they have to do this. They have to do it. They don't have a choice. There is nobody more over than Bill Goldberg right now. He is the top babyface in WWE, and he's been gone for 12 years. And what he did on Sunday Night at Survivor Series, destroying Brock Lesnar and just destroying the mystique of Brock Lesnar in 1 minute and 26 seconds, I think it was incredible. And they don't have anybody else who's going to get that big of a pop. So he said, what do you guys think? And, he got, I would say it was about a 75-25 split in favor of him going for a title run again. And in my opinion, I think he should do it. I don't necessarily think he should win, but he could do wonders for a guy and put somebody over, even if he goes for the U.S. title against Roman Reigns. That's something I'd pay to see. That's something I want to see. I want to see Goldberg versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. It may not happen at WrestleMania. I don't know what they're trying to do, because if he does win the Royal Rumble, he goes to the main event, which I don't think he will because they announced that he'll be the #1 entrant. But regardless, whatever he does is going to put butts in the seats, and whether you like him or not, whether you respect him or not, whether you think he's a great performer or a Hall of Famer, or whether you don't think he's any of those things, it doesn't matter. The guy sells merchandise and the guy sells tickets, and that's what WWE is looking for. That's what they're looking for. They want a guy who's going to sell t-shirts and put butts in the seats at pay-per-views, get people to go back and get the network and watch the Goldberg collection on the network. That's what they want. And when people start doing that, they're going to continue to push the guy. And of course, he's going to get a big payday. There's no way that he came back to lose, and there's no way that he came back cheap. So after that, there was a cruiserweight division match, and finally, we had a cruiserweight singles match other than T.J. Perkins and Brian Kendrick. It was nice. Cedric Alexander beat Daivari. He went over. He looks strong. I think he's going to be a future cruiserweight champion. I think it's only a matter of time because he's really over right now. and the guy is one hell of an athlete. He's really entertaining to watch. Not too much else happened in that match. There was a promo after that though. I thought it was. I mean, look, I like Enzo and Cass, but I thought the promo was a little bit cheesy and a little bit too much. And WWE really confuses me sometimes because we know we're in the PG era, and I don't think we're leaving that era anytime soon. But then they do a vignette where Enzo's trying to get back in the locker room because Cass locked him out and he's butt naked. And he's strolling around backstage and bumps into Lana, and Lana sees him naked, and Rusev starts, giving him the business, like, "What are you doing naked in front of my wife? Machka, futria," whatever he says. That kind of led to a match between the two of them, which was an okay match. I mean, it was really, really, really short. I mean, Rusev absolutely destroyed Enzo, which we kind of knew was going to happen. The guy's a former U.S. heavyweight champ. He's always been booked strong. So, but what's funny about that match is before that, Lana usually comes down and introduces Rusev. She said, "Put your hands on your heart, and please rise," or I don't know, something about, instead of saying Canada, "Put your hands on your heart," she said America or something along those lines, and she botched it because obviously they were in Toronto, so she botched that big time, but doesn't really matter. Yeah, it won't make a difference for her career. The match made Enzo look weak, but it also made it look like there's going to be a future feud between Rusev and Big Cass. Like, Big Cass kind of gave him the stare down, like, "Oh, you hurt my friend, you're going to deal with me." But I think that'd be cool. Honestly, I think sooner rather than later, Big Cass is going to get a title run, whether it be for the US title or, I mean, anything. Honestly, he's charismatic, he's big, he's athletic, and he looks like a Vince McMahon wet dream to me. Honestly, he's a massive guy, and he's got mic skills. So we'll see where that goes. Maybe we'll see a feud come out of it. Maybe not. Maybe they're just kind of swerving us a little bit. After that, we had Golden Truth versus Gallows and Anderson. It was a squash match. I mean, honestly, what else was it going to be? I was kind of confused with the commentary team between Cole, Saxton, and Graves. They're kind of talking about how this match solidifies their title opportunity at, I believe it's Roadblock, the next Raw pay-per-view, against the New Day. It's kind of weird how they keep just flip-flopping between number one contenders. Like, is it Cesaro and Sheamus? Is it Gallows and Anderson? Does the commentary team even know what they're talking about? It's hard to tell at this point because I don't even think they know where this is going. So yeah, that was a little bit kind of just a squash match. What I don't like is the promo that came after this between Mick and Stephanie and Sami Zayn, and talking about how because Sami Zayn lost at Survivor Series, there has to be repercussions, which I don't understand. He lost. He didn't bring the IC title over to Raw, which I think kind of everybody knew was going to happen, especially after The Miz beat Dolph right before Survivor Series. So as a punishment, he put him in a match against Braun Strowman. Now, I don't know about you guys, but why is Braun Strowman being rewarded? Wasn't he a part of Team Raw that lost against Team SmackDown? If there's supposed to be repercussions for every Raw versus SmackDown match, why are the guys who were on the singles competitors team for Team Raw not being punished? It doesn't make any. They could have done it in another way. Like, they didn't have to tell Sammy, "Oh, you're getting punished for this," because he doesn't really necessarily deserve to be punished. He didn't get squashed by The Miz. He put on a good match, and he got screwed over by Maurice. If anything, Mick should have said, "Listen, I know you gave your best. You got screwed over. So to make up for that, we're gonna, I don't know, give you a shot at Roman Reigns." Who knows? I mean, I don't see Sami Zayn beating Roman Reigns, and I think they're going to put somebody bigger in that spot to feud with him. But they could have done something, even if he would have lost to Roman Reigns for the U.S. title that night. You know what I mean? And fairly easily. I mean, you don't punish somebody for losing a match. I've never seen that really before. Not that I can remember. Anyways, it was just stupid. After that, we saw another promo for Emelina. I don't know why they decided to change Emma's gimmick, because it was fine. It was really good. She was a great heel. I don't know what they're doing with her promo now. Like, she's supposed to be some sort of supermodel. So I don't know if she's going to come back and be some sort of arrogant heel supermodel who's, extremely vain. I don't know what they're doing with that gimmick. I don't know when she's coming back. You can't really tell. It just keeps saying premiering soon. So, I mean, they kind of leave you in the dark about that. It's funny because the WWE will announce returns like 6 weeks away, without kind of a clear date. And these are like returns and premieres that we don't really care about. But then, like when Goldberg comes back, they'll announce it just a week before, to get the ratings in. But I'm pretty sure if they would put down a date that she's coming back, people, I don't necessarily think people will tune in to see Emelina. I'm just saying people will tune in when they know a star is coming back. So just give us a date. It's as easy as that. Just give us a date unless they're unsure. Because I know she's been wrestling at house shows. So I don't know what they're waiting for, honestly. After that, Charlotte she came out and cut another promo. Not a whole lot to say about it. I liked it. I mean, I like Charlotte. I think she's already the greatest female wrestler of all time. And I know that sounds a little bit too. It's a little bit too early to call it. But the WWE has never seen a woman like her who is so physically dominant. She's an amazing athlete. There's not one woman on that roster who is as athletic as Charlotte. She cuts promos like nobody else. She draws so much heat, and you could see so much of Ric Flair in her. It's incredible. I'm telling you, even if she retired tomorrow, she deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame. She's undeniable. After that, we saw a triple threat match, I believe, for the cruiserweight division. I don't even remember, to be honest. It wasn't that memorable of a match. I don't really remember who was in it. I know Rich Swann, I think, won the match. Again, it's kind of pointless now. I feel like even putting them on at this point doesn't make any sense because we know they're getting 205 Live, and that's where the bulk of the storyline is going to be developed, and that's where the bulk of the good matches are going to take place. So for them to even have anything other than title matches on Raw just doesn't make sense to me anymore because they really botched this whole division. It should have gone directly to SmackDown in the first place, where they know how to use wrestlers and they know how to book people. Raw just has made a mess of the cruiserweight division, so we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm going to wait to see what 205 is like, and then I'll kind of make a little bit more fair of a judgment on the division. But I feel bad for guys like Brian Kendrick and Rich Swann and TJ Perkins because at this point they're getting misused, and the only guy who's getting promo time is Brian Kendrick, and rightfully so because he's good at cutting promos. But that whole division needs more exposure. There was a promo. I know it's Christmas time. I know we're getting, it's actually American Thanksgiving tomorrow. So happy Thanksgiving to all my American fans and friends. I know it's Black Friday. I know Christmas is coming up, but they had the cheesy gift promo that Enzo and Cass did trying to sell WWE merchandise. People know the merch is there. I mean, they don't even have to promote it, honestly. Every Raw and every SmackDown, there's some sort of deal where you can get, $10 t-shirts or second t-shirts to $1. I mean, I've cashed in on some of these deals just as recently as 2 weeks ago. So it's kind of pointless. It's pretty long too, considering, and it's kind of embarrassing for stars to do these stupid promos. Yeah, the match at the end of the night, the main event was Kevin Owens beating Seth Rollins. It's an okay match. I was okay with it. No, not too much to talk about there. Not a whole lot happened. The one thing I will actually that I kind of did forget to mention earlier on that happened earlier in the show was the promo between Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Those two are dynamite on the mic together. They are so good. They even swerved me. And honestly, I don't usually read too much into anything anyone says, and I'm not a naive person. So when they started going back and forth about what happened at Survivor Series when Kevin Owens used the list of Jericho to hit, I believe it was Seth Rollins, and he destroyed the list, and Jericho was upset because all of his personal and private notes were on that list, and they were kind of spewed all over the ring, basically. So they kind of got into it, a heated argument back and forth, and it got to the point where Jericho says to Owens, "You know who's to blame for this?" And Owens says, "Yeah, I know who's to blame for this. You know who's to blame for this?" And everybody's expecting them to say, you, and that was it. And that was going to be the beginning of their feud, and they were going to have a match at the Royal Rumble. At the same time, so in sync, they both said, Roman Reigns, and the crowd just went wild because who doesn't like to hate on Roman Reigns, right? Um, especially after Survivor Series with that botched spear. So even they cashed in on the Roman Reigns heat right now. So it was fantastic. It was hilarious. It was really good. Um, and Roman Reigns actually should be kind of thankful because there's no such thing as bad heat in this business, and Roman Reigns is a testament to that. This guy just keeps getting booked to look strong as hell because he's getting a reaction, whether it's negative or positive. People still stand up, and people still get up, and they use their energy to boo. So he's getting a reaction. I thought the show as a whole was okay. It wasn't. I mean, it was decent. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't great. Um, but it was a Raw worth watching. Jump into SmackDown. Trip there was really good. We got there really fast. Took us 2 hours to get there from here. It's cold as hell, freezing cold, really cold. It said -1 on the thermometer, but it felt like minus at least 10, -10 or 15. And I know because I stood in the freezing cold in the middle of the night, putting gas in the car. And the guy working the pump screwed up so many times from inside. I ended up standing up there for at least 20 minutes, and I'm pretty sure I had frostbite. It was that bad. But it was good. It was great. We got there fairly early. Doors opened at around 6. We were there about 6:15. Took a while for people to file in, but NXT is so much better of a product right now. And that says a lot because SmackDown is definitely the stronger of the two main roster shows right now. But the wrestling is so good on NXT, and the gimmicks and the way they tell the stories. The way they tell the stories is so different. Not one person cut a promo during the. I won't get into the matches that happen. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. But anyways, NXT, what they do so much better than the main roster is they tell the story in the ring with the wrestling. And that's where it should start. The WWE puts a lot of stock into cutting promos and doing vignettes and building storylines and building gimmicks, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you do all those things. If you cannot tell a story in the ring, it doesn't matter. And NXT does that better than both of those rosters combined. Not a single person cut a promo. I think there was 4 matches we saw. About 4 matches, yeah. Every match was good, if not great, especially the last 2 matches. I won't say who it was involving. But wow, like the crowd reactions generated were fantastic. There was more people on their feet for NXT than there was on SmackDown. It's always cool seeing a live event. Because personally, it's been a long time since I've been to a live event. There hasn't really been anything in my area, my driving radius, for a while. It's always nice to see all the pre-production and the post-production and the production that goes on when the cameras are not rolling. It's fun to see those things because there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you never get to see and you forget kind of happen. It was a really great production. SmackDown really knows how to get the crowd involved. We were sitting, I think, 5 rows up from the floor. We actually saw ourselves on TV. I always tape SmackDown, so of course when this morning after I woke up, I scanned the crowd a few times when I knew the camera was kind of pointing towards us. And during the Becky Lynch versus Natalya match, when I think it was Becky on the top turnbuckle, we actually saw ourselves, which was always pretty cool. The show was good. The one thing I don't like about SmackDown, and it sounds like I'm nitpicking, and it's not fair to pick on one person all the time because he's never done anything to me, but it's just Baron Corbin, and I don't understand the booking with this guy. Like, he could be booked to be a monster heel in a main event. He can. It's going to take a little bit of time, but they got to start booking him, but they just continue to put him in a feud with Kalisto, and I don't understand because we saw this originally when the draft happened. These two guys were going at it on SmackDown. The last time we saw them feuding was when Baron Corbin had Kalisto pinned down in this awkward sort of, I'm bigger than you, there's nothing you can do about it sort of schoolyard bullying takedown promo. Be a star, WWE. But Again, he came running through the crowd, jumped the barrier, went to go give Kalisto a clothesline on the apron, missed, got kicked in the head for his troubles. I just wish they would put him in a feud with somebody that's going to get him over. I mean, we've seen him with Dolph Ziggler. That went nowhere. That was horrible. Those matches were awful, really. And I feel bad for both guys because they just don't mesh well. There has to be somebody. I'm trying to think of somebody on SmackDown they could put him in a feud with that would just be so much better than Kalisto. It's hard to think of it because there's not a lot of there's no good mid-card baby faces and there's no good top card baby faces. You know, there's Dean Ambrose right now, and I mean, he's locked in a feud with AJ Styles, and there's no end in sight to that one. Dolph Ziggler's been done already. They don't have many options. He's kind of stuck in limbo, and I feel across both companies right now, there's more heels than there are baby faces. The WWE needs to do something about SmackDown and bringing some more mid to upper card talent because they've got nothing. You know, like they've really got they're really stretching the roster thin, and it's really hard to make, you know, an original product and good matches when you're constantly forced to pick from the same few guys again over and over again. I mean, like James Ellsworth is one of the top baby faces right now. That's a disaster. I mean, that was one of the other things I really didn't like about tonight. I'm a huge AJ Styles fan. He's really over, even as a heel. He's so over. They put him in a match against James Ellsworth. Again, a ladder match for James Ellsworth's WWE contract. I mean, if you've seen this show already, which I imagine you have, James Ellsworth won. James Ellsworth has now beaten AJ Styles 3 times, and he's your world champion. You can't book your world champion to lose to a career jobber and a guy who's literally just a joke right now. No offense to James Ellsworth, I like him, but the WWE brought him in and kept him in because he's funny, and people don't really appreciate his wrestling talent because he doesn't have that much. He honestly, his no chin music last night to AJ Styles' head. Watching that live, it was horrible. It was hard to watch. It was embarrassing. They can't book their world champion to lose to this guy once, let alone 3 times. It's a mistake, and I know they think people want to see it, but I can tell you, even the people who don't like AJ Styles, I really don't think they want to see James Ellsworth winning. Dean Ambrose, I get it. It makes sense. He's a star. But James Ellsworth, I mean, he was a great mascot for Team SmackDown. You know, put him in a few matches where, you know, he gets his ass kicked and he still delivers, you know what I mean? But don't put him against the best wrestler on the planet and have him beat him 3 times and always with the shenanigan finish, you know? Other than that, there was the tag team turmoil match, which I thought was cool. It was a different gimmick. We don't see that very often. It's like an elimination sort of Royal Rumble style match where you had, you know, one team come in and the second team come in, and once the team was eliminated, another team would come down. I thought Breezango did a really good job. They really got the crowd going. Ascension, they've just been booked to death as jobbers. I don't understand what they're doing with them. Vaudevillains looked weak. Nobody likes Mojo Rawley. I mean, that's I didn't think they did before, but sitting there in that crowd and listening to people talk and listening to people chant, nobody likes Mojo Rawley. I mean, I personally don't like him. I don't know why people hate him so much. I think he's a boring wrestler. I don't think he really does a whole lot in the ring other than his giant splash and his clotheslines and his, you know, football body checks. But the problem with the tag team division in SmackDown is there's really only 3 teams that are even decent, and then that's Slater and Rhino, American Alpha, and the Usos. Usos look strong. American Alpha look pretty strong too. Everybody else looked like jobbers. And the sad thing is they still have a couple of tag teams on that roster in the Headbangers and the Spirit Squad, and they're basically jobbers too. So you've got almost, what is it, 5 jobber teams on that roster. Not a whole lot else happened. Becky Lynch went over Natalia, if I'm remembering correctly. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Honestly, I didn't take any notes. It was a long drive. I got home really late last night. Worked all day today. I'm sitting here. It's midnight, and I'm just basically doing this now because I haven't had the time. But it was a good show. We got to see 2 bonus matches after SmackDown went off the air. Those were decent matches too. Kane still scares the crap out of everybody. When his pyro went off, it was well before the music hit. The pyro just went off, and I swear the guy sitting next to my buddy Chris probably flew 10 feet out of his seat. That's how scared he got. And man, did you feel the heat from that blast. It was still really cool. And those are the things that you don't see or feel or experience when you're watching on TV. And that's the cool thing about seeing a live show, is you're completely immersed. You know, you feel the pyro and you hear it, and it's deafening, and it's just such a great experience. And you can understand why people get so into the shows too when they're there. It's just a great environment. Honestly, it's really, really great. You could take your kids, you can go with the guys, you can go with the girls. It doesn't matter. There's something for everybody, and it's a really fun time. There was one guy who's kind of ruining the show for everybody, and I feel it's important to talk about it. Don't be the guy who tries to be the center of attention at a WWE show. You're not a wrestler, you're a fan. And don't try to hijack the show, especially when it becomes annoying for other people. There was one guy dressed up as the Ultimate Warrior, wearing a bodysuit, and he had the face paint on. I'm 99% sure he was drunk. He had floor seats, but he kept going up and down the stairs everywhere in every goddamn section. And he was basically begging people to take pictures of him. Like, he was so desperately trying to become, I guess you can say, famous, because the guy who dresses up like Bret Hart and travels to a lot of different shows, he was there. And he was shown on the Titantron in a WrestleMania package. He got a lot of attention. I think this guy was desperate for the same sort of thing, and it got to the point where his seats were probably about 5 or 6 rows back from the guardrail. The barrier, I should say. He kept going to the barrier every time a superstar would come out, and security asked him at least a dozen times to go back to your seat, go back to your seat. You know, you're in the way. And he just kept talking to every security guard and, you know, going back and forth with them. Oh, why do I have to go to my seat? Anyways, I'm already rambling about it, but just, if you go to a show, just enjoy the show, be involved, participate. But don't be a jerk, don't be loud, don't be a drunk idiot, and don't get in people's faces. People were telling this guy to sit down and go away because he was just standing on the stairs, just begging everybody, hey, take a picture of me, take a picture of me. Like, honestly, go home. Don't bother coming. Nobody wants you to be there. Wasn't a whole lot else that happened. I'm not going to cover NXT this week because I didn't watch it. I don't think I'll have time to do another podcast this week. I actually thought, and I don't know why I thought this, but I thought what we saw last night that was being recorded was going to air tonight, but obviously they need more time to edit the footage, so that'll be next week. I did catch a little bit of NXT tonight, just a little bit. It's a great show. Honestly, there's not much else I could say about it. It's the dominant brand right now. But I'm looking forward to TLC. That's in a week and a half, I believe, a week from Sunday. Very close together, the next 2 pay-per-views. I think Roadblock is a week and a half after that, or 2 weeks after that, something like that. Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks after that, a week before Christmas. So a lot of wrestling coming up. There'll be a lot more podcasts, a lot more to talk about. Hopefully by then I'll have my co-host with me. I know it's just me kind of talking to myself, and I know probably boring for some people. One thing I haven't been doing and I haven't done yet is questions. You know, if anybody who's listening has any questions or you know, has any ideas of something they'd like to hear me touch on or talk about, leave a comment on Podbean, leave a comment on YouTube, leave a comment on Facebook, anything. Private message us on Facebook. You could find us on facebook.com/5-star podsplash. That's 5, the number 5. 5-Star Pod Splash. You can find us on Twitter at 5-Star Pod. That's FIVESTARPOD. You can find us on YouTube at 5 Pod Splash. You could also find us on Podbean as well. Same thing, 5-Star Pod Splash. I'm going to give another shout out to my close friend and Twitch streamer, Platinum Ocean. You guys should definitely check him out. Like I said, he's building a pretty big brand for himself. He's an up-and-coming streamer in the gaming world. He's very popular already. Check him out on Twitch. Check him out on YouTube. He's got a Twitter page as well. Give another shout out to Monaz Kitchen and Grill. If you're ever in the Montreal area, hit these people up on Facebook. Best barbecue in the city. Probably the best barbecue in the province, I will say. I don't think there's anywhere else where you can get barbecue like they make. They also make a lot of stuff like butter chicken and just all sorts of stuff. Anything protein related, they've got it. So that's it for this edition. We covered Raw and Smackdown. Next week, I'll try and do Raw and Smackdown on the same show again, so we can do a recap of both. If need be, I'll do 2 separate ones depending on how long the shows run. But for 5-Star Pod Splash, I'm Matt, and see y'all later.